Misty,
Spencer,
did you switch the positions again?
No, I'm telling you, I'm just number one, but
I don't care. You could be number one. It just confuses me. I'm
it's
used
the
to
way
looking up
you
there.
take us out before we come back on, I think is what happens.
Oh, I'd like to take you out, all right, for a fact. Mark, Eric, how are y'all doing?
Good.
Doing well.
Doing good.
Doing real well.
Everybody
in
chat? Yeah, I know, right? I hope everybody is trying to stay cool in this. It's a little above 90 here, but again, it's like real high humidity, so I can only imagine down where you are, Mark. I hear Mississippi is getting it real bad right now.
It was 96 yesterday. Then that thunderstorm came in and it dropped it to 72. So boy, it felt nice,
Uh-huh.
And, I don't even know what it is outside right now. So
to everybody in chat, we have some moderators now. A couple of them are on here. Thank you very much, Cashew and Diane. I appreciate it. And thanks everybody for just joining in general. One thing I wanted to say, hold on, dang it, I forgot him again. Who was it? I knew I should have wrote it down. Oh, one thing I wanted to say is, like, whenever we're doing the outro and we're recommending a lot of the channels, I've talked to a couple of those people and they've seen some upticks in subscribers and everything. If that's any of y'all that went over to their channels and subscribed, thank you very much. There's still a lot of people I forget to mention. Like, I never mentioned Kane, House of Enoch. House of Enoch is pound for pound probably one of the absolute best channels you can watch if you're trying to learn anything real world about boogers. And also, we've seen an uptick in our channel. We were right at 600 a couple days ago. We're at 630 now, which doesn't sound like much, but trust me, you fight to get like 30 people or whatnot. And I found out that a lot of our videos are, YouTube will not promote them or anything because of the intro where I have some music in the background and it's been, what they call it, copyrighted or whatnot. So YouTube will not push the videos out. People have to search the videos. So Chris Reinhardt is going to give me a hand. Misty hates him, but he's a big help to me.
Stop telling people that. I do not.
Stop hating on the stuff he does for us.
You're mad because he makes videos for me about you.
But Chris Reinhardt's going to give us a new and improved intro, and hopefully they'll take away the copyrighted thing. But anyway, so on this show, which is going to be a little bit outside the curve for regular Bigfoot stuff, Misty actually lined this up, and I don't know squat about what they're going to talk about. I mean, I dive into the Bigfoot stuff, and this is related in a way. And it brings to question how much of all this kind of stuff is really connected with some kind of weird underlying thing that we don't really know about. But anyway, so Misty's going to do most of the talking on this one, ain't you?
No, Eric and Mark are. I just want to say that when I seen Eric do that video the other day, this is something that I've been really wanting to talk about, but it's hard to try to figure out who you can get on here and have that conversation with. So as soon as he, done his video, I was like, yeah, we definitely have to do this.
Eric does videos a lot of times, like in the morning on Facebook. If you're friends with him on Facebook, he does a lot of live videos while he's going to work. And, half the time he's jacked up on coffee and it sounds like he's going to go in and like just tear down his place of work. And the other time it's like half the time it's kind of like going to church. You know how whenever you go to church, it's like there's half the time where you're like, is the pastor or preacher talking directly to me? Half the time when I watch Eric's videos, I'm like, is he talking about me? Is he talking to me? I don't fucking know. I swear I think he is. But he gets revved up. But he covers some crazy stuff when he goes off deep in the Bigfoot world, it's great. When he goes off deep bitching about his job, that's kind of funny too, because I'm just then drinking my coffee and waking up. I'm like, get him, E, get him. But he had this show the other day that goes into all kinds of stuff, and we're going to talk about some crazy shit, but mostly we're going to let Mark and Eric get into it, and I'm just going to listen. So, Eric, Mark,
Mark goes into a lot of it too on his channel, you know, not too much, but
yeah,
you know, it's.
And if y'all don't watch Mark's channel, shame on you, because he's talking about everything from how to grow purple hull peas to Bigfoot. That is not a channel you can afford to miss. And he doesn't sound like he's getting ready to, you know, go all Unabomber on his place of work. So if you're the kind that needs toned down, watch Mark's channel, and then watch Eric's late at night. Once you've already been awake for the whole day, if you watch Eric's channel in the morning, it'll either depress you or get you pumped up. It's one or the other. All right. Now that I've covered all that, go ahead and start talking, y'all.
What do you want to talk about? Knitting? Crochet? What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about where you and your wife keep getting those fancy drinks from on the weekend. The pictures look like something out of a magazine.
That's a local pub right here in our little town, and the two bartenders are so cool. And it's been about 2 months now. We've been going every other Saturday. We go, and it's our date night together. And we got to know the two bartenders, and they're really cool. And it was my first time a couple months ago, my first time ever having an old fashioned. Never had one before. And I saw him making one, and I was like, I want to try that. So I asked him what all was in it, Knobs Creek and all this jazz, and I've been hooked ever since. So it's a routine now. I'll have like 3 beers, we'll eat dinner, and then right to the old fashioned after that. And yeah.
What happens?
Yeah.
Anthony loves those old fashions. I tried making one at home, and I was like sorely disappointed in it. And that might have been me. I might have messed it up.
So Carla, for Father's Day, she bought me the smoker kit for Father's Day. So yeah.
Oh wait, what kind of smoker? What'd you get?
To ask me the name, I couldn't tell you. It's right there in front of the box, and I'm.
Is it a pellet smoker? Is it a?
No. So it's a chip smoker. Okay. So you put the chips inside like a little screen bowl.
Yeah.
You put that on top of the lid. You burn it. You put it on top of the glass. It smokes the drink basically. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to send you a text, Eric, tell you where my daughter works at in Columbus. She's a waitress and a bartender. So
nice.
I'll have to send that place. You might have to check it out one day.
Yeah, definitely.
She tells me about mixing drinks and all that. She says people love the way she does it. So
nice.
Hell
yeah.
They're more of a bartender than he does a waitress. So.
Yeah, we'll pop in and see her definitely.
I'll send that text to you later.
Hell, we can just sit here and talk about drinks all night.
We can. It might be more enjoyable for the people in the people in the chat and everybody. But I have a question. So I was trying to line up somebody else, and they couldn't do it this weekend. Misty was talking to y'all after the show that you did, E, and she's sending me these thumbnails. She's like, which one do you want to use? And this first one, now, she doesn't have it on like most of the other ones. On most of the other ones, she titled it Diving into the Drying Euphrates River. But on the first one, and this got my attention, and this is the one that I use, so I hope y'all are ready to cover all this kind of stuff. If not, it's Squirrel's fault. But it says Giants, Euphrates River, Gold, and Prophecies. Are we going to try to tackle Giants, the Euphrates River, Gold, and Prophecies all in one show? Are we going to break this down? Is it like Wheel of Fortune? You just want to pick a topic or something?
No, it's going to go everywhere.
it all kind of ties in together, actually, and you got to take some of it with a grain of salt, because it's a lot of third, fourth, fifth hand information that's coming, and really even going out and trying to find as much documentation as you can actually find on it, like facts, documents out there. It's so hard, even if it was fake and just stories. The stories just chop and end. I mean, there's absolutely no trail. There's no trail into them at all. There's you know how like even a fictional story, it will still lead eventually and trickle to something. And everything that I've looked for when it comes to these things is just a solid slam door shut, nothing else. There's nowhere else, no other avenues to venture down to try to get more information. When it comes to the Euphrates, you know, Iraq, the giant that the soldiers supposedly went and had a confrontation and killed it, and everything is slammed shut, tight. But if you then open the good book and you start looking at certain things in the Bible that speak about the Euphrates, that very, very lightly talk about Nephilim, things like that, and then you go back and you start reading these documents that are facts that people were able to extract and take with them and put it out to the public. There's correlation within the Bible and some of these things that are written in these documents, and it's eerie because it was prophesized, and here it is, and that's what's really sparking a lot of people's interest now. That's what's really turning the wheels on this, and people really trying to dig for more information now, is because this prophecy in the Bible, we're seeing it in real life and unfold, and a lot of people are starting to ask questions. And where we are with technology and internet and everything else, and everything's so easy to get a hold of, it's like the governments can't keep up with what we are finding now and what we are digging up, and they can't keep up with it, and they're trying to shut it down as quick as they possibly can.
All right. Well, I mean, can we start off with the Euphrates thing?
So I don't know when it actually started drying up, but it's been some time now, and it's from where it dumps. If I told you the sea that it pulls out of, I don't think it. I'd be wrong if I said it didn't tie into the Red Sea, but I think it does. Anyways, it's been drying for quite some time now. Well, recently, what we believe to be folklore myth is Gilgamesh and his tomb. Well, they have uncovered a tomb out of the Euphrates, and a lot of things were correlating to this being what was described in so many documents throughout history of this being Gilgamesh's tomb. Well, then there is video out there supposedly of the tomb, and supposedly of Gilgamesh himself, mummified, and whether or not it's real, it's completely debatable. But what I find completely interesting is why shut that area down completely? Why the groups in certain governments show up and completely take over the area and push the scientists and the professors out of there, the archaeologists? Why push all of them out and shut this place down to the public? It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. And now we're starting to get years later. Now this was during the Gulf War, and now years later, now we're getting military, retired military that were there during this time, and they're coming out and they're speaking about, being in this particular area when this all unfolded, and the military taking over and certain parts of the government taking over, and then having conversations with these military, these ex-military personnel, and them witnessing, helicopters and heavy equipment coming in and extracting out of the tomb certain things and then disappearing. Like, what are they bringing out of the tomb? Well, there's so much lore and so much from past history that there was a Stargate that was found. There's things of not this world that was actually found in this tomb and was extracted and taken. But all of this has been slammed shut. And the question is why? The only thing I can keep coming back to is everything that we've ever done, even in this realm. It always seems like every time we get close to possibly having an answer of something, even when it comes to Sasquatch, it gets ripped out from underneath us. And it goes away. The individuals go silent. The documentation stops. Everything goes away. And the more we dig and the more I start reading certain things out of the Bible and start reading certain documents that we do have, the more I'm starting to think that this is all together. Somehow, some way, this is all one thing. We're discussing one thing. There's so much in it, but it's all one thing. And it's mind-blowing, really.
The military and government part coming in, I mean, it really does seem, I've read some of that stuff. It really does seem like a real-life Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of plot thing. And like what you were just saying, I think a lot of people in the Bigfoot world are starting to come to the conclusion that, I mean, folks, if we're being honest, this is just my interpretation. Nobody has to agree with it. But, I mean, if you're talking 60 years ago, well, 50 anyway, a lot of people were convinced that it was flesh and blood and that it was just kind of, some kind of anomaly, a North American primate of some kind that we haven't discovered. I'm telling you now, in my opinion, I think we would have gotten one. I mean, if it was just an ape, if it was just solid flesh and blood, and I'm not going to go into the other aspects of it because I don't know, but I think we would have a lot more than what we do right now. And I think a lot of people in the field have started to become enlightened to the fact that maybe there is something that connects all this stuff. Maybe there is something metaphysical, mystical, biblical, whatever way you want to view it. Mark, where do you give us a introspective on the whole Euphrates thing, starting with the biblical, what they said about it and everything?
Well, I mean, Eric's correct about, it is a lot of talk.
Never start a sentence with Eric is correct, but carry on.
The Euphrates is a very important river in that region of the world. And if you look at it, that river has, it's mentioned in the beginning of time and it's mentioned at the end of time. It's brought up a lot. That river, I think, comes actually out of Turkey, where it actually starts in Turkey. Now, there's several things affecting that river. Of course, Turkey's been building dams on it left and right. So that does probably drop some of the water volume. But also drought I don't know why my screen keeps doing that. But we always got to remember, if you go into prophecy, God uses all kind of things to make that prophecy happen.
That's right.
I mean, it doesn't mean, he can use Turkey as part of that problem. He can use drought or misuse of the river or whatever. So, that's a very important river, and it's mentioned many, many times in the Bible, just like the Jordan River's mentioned a lot. If you look, those rivers are mentioned a whole lot in the Red Sea and the Dead Sea, and all those regions. And the Nile's brought up a lot. So that was a very important, and of course that's a desert type area. Most of that Middle East is desert, so that yes, them rivers are very important. That's where they're getting their drinking water from, and so yeah, it plays in a lot with ancient history and modern, what's going on nowadays, and it's been amazing since that river has dropped so much in the last few years at the structures they are finding left and right. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say this a little bit too. I think our government, I need to be careful how I say this. When not the first Iraq war, but the second Iraq war, when we went back, I think the United States just didn't go to get rid of Saddam Hussein. They went for more reasons.
Right.
And I need to be careful so I don't get the channel blackballed. But
you ain't got to be careful on this channel. Fuck the government.
I think that's where the golden stuff comes in.
I think they went after a bunch of other things, and they used a disguise of other things, I guess you would say. I do believe there was a lot of manpower put into it, and there was a lot of lives lost over this and all kind of stuff. And if you really, it's just like the Nazis done in World War II. One of the first things Hitler went to do, and he went to gathering up all the other countries' history and their art and their artifacts, and there's no telling how much of it is still hid somewhere that the U.S. government probably got their hands on. Russia may have got their hands on it, but I know I'm getting off on a different subject there. But what I'm trying to say is, a lot of times I wonder when we went in on for stuff in the Middle East, we were going for other reasons besides what they were saying we were doing.
Yeah, I touched on that the other morning in my video that, if this was a diversion, it was a costly diversion on our part. It took lives, it took all kinds of stuff. But if you put a price on it, if you put what we would gain from it or what the government would gain from it, we went in with the WMDs. We're going after the WMDs. There were no WMDs there. We went in we went in for the WMDs. They weren't there. Now this is me just speaking. This isn't fact. I can't pull out documentations. I'm looking at this as a person watching the war, where I'm at today with Gilgamesh's tomb and the Euphrates drying up, and what the tomb held. So now I'm looking at, and the Gulf War, and the war not the Gulf War, but the war kicking off just months after all of this was found. So I misspoke earlier. It wasn't the Gulf War. It was this war when Gilgamesh's tomb was found. Then all of a sudden the war kicks off. Two months later, whatever. So we go after the WMDs. Never found, but we strike a deal with the oil. We come in with the oil. So you have that. There's the funding for this, whatever you want to call what the diversion was, to get to Gilgamesh's tomb. And then they show up at the tomb, they extract everything and pull it out, and that's what they were actually there for. My question would also be the military, the troops that came in contact with the giant during this time and killed it. How far away from the tomb and the Euphrates was this? How far away did this take place? When supposedly the military came in contact with this giant of a person described almost as a almost as Gilgamesh himself, the size of it, everything, how far away from it was this. There's so much you can really look at. The conspiracies can fly. I mean, they can kick off and they can shoot all over the damn place if you want to. But if you kind of sit back and you look at history and look what the lore was of Gilgamesh, who he was, what he did, where how he became who he was. If you follow all of this, whether you believe in God, believe in the Bible, whatever it is, that has nothing to do with it. It's the lore of Gilgamesh himself and how he was created. And
let's
go ahead.
Let's talk about that. I mean, talk about the whole mythos of Gilgamesh and how it all came to be.
Well, I mean, he was birthed by angels and human women, a woman of flesh and blood. Yeah, exactly. So then you get into Nephilims, and that's the belief of where how he became who he was, how he got here. So it's the out of this world that where the myths kind of get, skewed a little bit. What he had, what he used, the powers that he used, the documents of stating that we were finding artifacts in there not of this world. Right. Things that we throughout all his history of archaeology, there were things being extracted out of this tomb that were not of this world. So when you kind of break it down and you go from the fallen angels or the angels and having sex with human women and birthing these Nephilim, these giants, is that myth there? And these beings were actually from somewhere else and they arrived here. And then this is where we come from. This is where we span from. There's so much we could talk about. There's so many rabbit holes we could go down with this because, unfortunately, like I said, there's so little like factual documentation that we can go off of. We have little bits and pieces, and we're trying to piece all of this together, and we're trying to decipher out of the Bible. And we're trying to go back and look at lore, documented lore, and then we're trying to grab any small pieces of documentation that we do in modern day, and we're trying to put all of this together and figure it out. And it's so hard to frickin' do. All I know is there's a tomb, there's a giant, and there's supposedly a second giant that was killed during the war. And there was artifacts that were pulled out of the tomb, not of this world. And this is coming from ex-military now, that is coming out and speaking.
Let me ask y'all a question. Because, I mean, if you're going to go down the rabbit hole, you might as well jump in with both feet, right?
Might as well.
Well, I mean, I think the average person can understand the concept of Bigfoot. They might not subscribe to it. They might not think it's a real thing, but they understand what we're talking about, right? When you get in the Bigfoot world, you get exposed to the whole Bigfoot and UFOs, aliens, were often seen, have often been seen in correlation with each other. You also get exposed to the Nephilim aspect of everything. People lean that way. But again, going back to the original thing is so much of this interconnected to a degree on some level that we just don't understand. Personally, I've gone in the woods a shit ton. All of us have. Everybody that's here has. And we've all seen stuff that's kind of weird and makes you go, how does that happen? How do you have something that vocalizes close to you and you look over there and you don't see it? Or the one or two tracks and then they're just gone, right? So if we go in the rabbit hole, we go, okay, I'm open to the possibility of these things are no longer just flesh and blood. Don't know what they are, but they're no longer just flesh and blood. In your opinion, don't you think it's a very easy thing to look at and say, I'm not discrediting, I'm not trying to take out God. I'm not trying to take out the biblical aspect of any of this. But can you imagine a couple thousand years ago, people talking about angels? Can't you imagine that aliens, in layman's terms, would be considered as angels, or vice versa, either way. Mm-hmm. But are we talking about there are aliens and there are angels? Are we talking about maybe it's all the same thing? Maybe just the title of it has gotten confused? Like, for example, I was talking to Misty a couple weeks ago, and the term werewolf is a Slavic Germanian term that means man and wolf, right? That does not necessarily mean a man turning into a wolf. It's just two terms put together, man, wolf. Well, today we talk about dogman a lot, which I freaking hate talking about, but it looks like a mix between a man and a wolf. So if we named it today, we call it dogman, but we could easily call it wolf man. That doesn't mean a man that turned into a wolf. Same thing on the Nephilim alien thing. I mean, now, I would tend to lean more on the biblical side of it than the alien side of it. But then again, we have the government, who we're all huge fans of. I love them. We have the government interdicting and coming in and doing all this kind of stuff. And the government is very much trying to slow walk and introduce the public to, hey, we've got aliens. We've got alien craft out there flying around. And so many pilots have come forward and talked about it and everything, that at this point they have to start introducing it into the conversation to kind of segue into, oh yeah, by the way, in Roswell, we picked up some alien technology and we've been reverse engineering it. At least that's my thoughts on it. But my point would be, go.
I'm sorry.
No, go. I talk too much.
Well, it was what now? 10 years ago, the Vatican. 10 years ago, we were just coming out of the shadows. The government was barely just starting to okay, we can kind of sort of talk about this, but not a lot. It was when the Vatican came out and made a statement. When they came out and they said, we are not, how do they somewhat word it? If there is other life outside of this planet, it still does not change our belief in God. And when that statement was made to the world from the Vatican, everybody went, oh, shit. And then the governments went, well, fuck, it's out of the bag now. So, and then that's when you started really seeing the trickle effect of easing certain things out there, on the platforms of what was now what we call social media. It was slowly being introduced to where we are today. But like I said, earlier, that with us having all of this at our fingertips as well, we uncover certain things, and the governments are like, oh shit, fuck it, sweep it under the rug, stop, whoa, and it's like they can't keep up with us now. Yeah, they can't. Right. They're struggling. They're struggling to keep up with us because now there's
stuff can only go so far.
Yeah,
they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Their narratives that they created and that were held for so long, those narratives are we now are going, I ain't buying it. Look what I just found. I'm not buying it. So they're struggling. They're struggling to keep these things hidden from us. I mean, I mentioned that in the video the other day as well. Here in Ohio, we have the serpent mounds. We have mounds here in Ohio, if not the most in the United States, that hold giants. There's nothing. You can find very little documentation on any of it. As soon as you mention the word Smithsonian, it all goes away. It all disappears. As soon as the Smithsonian stepped foot in Ohio, when they started digging the Serpent Mound and found the first giant, gone. It was gone. Everything's shut down. Call the Smithsonian and ask them about the Serpent Mound.
Lovelock Cave, the same thing.
Well, that's why I ask people a lot of times about, do you believe in inner earth or this or that? I mean, all this stuff we talk about doesn't necessarily mean it's our beliefs or what we think, but it seems like it's all tied in together. I mean, just like what David was saying about the Genesis. Genesis 6:4 says there were giants in the earth in those days and also after that. Exactly.
So then you go to modern and you go to 1909, where a traveler and expeditionist stumbles upon a cave in the Grand Canyon, goes in, finds this labyrinth of just multiple caves, and the system of metropolis, this city inside the Grand Canyon, part of the Grand Canyon. So he understands this is way above me, so he calls the Smithsonian. And he says, hey, and he sends them trinkets. He sends them, artifacts. And he's like, I need help. I need to know what this is. So they send him a professor and a team of like 40 people. And they go in and they start uncovering things. The writing on the walls, the glyphs on the walls match Egyptian and something else. Something else.
Didn't they find something in I forget where it was, South America. It was some kind of Mayan culture, and inside the pyramid down there, they found the Egyptian and what looks like
once again though, all of a sudden the expeditionist and the professor, there's no history of them. Very little history. It's like they don't exist. These two guys don't exist. And the Smithsonian steps in, the government shows up and shuts it completely down. Now today, that area is a no-fly zone, and they have FBI agents stationed at the opening of that cave. They're there 24/7. All the time.
But, Sherry, on that though, you're right. But is it after everything has come from out of the ground? Whenever I'm sorry, I'm trying to read comments and get back to where I was at. You said the Bible also states God destroys everything on the earth, not under or above. Well, when everything emerges from under the ground, is that when it's destroyed? Is it after the Genesis 6:4 when it says that it's destroyed on the earth? My question is biblical and whatever else. Why is it being taken from us? Why is it being hidden from us? Was Giant Pithecia existed. It was a real ape. It was a giant ape. But was that a narrative created? We can hold this with what is being found now in North America and all over the world as Bigfoot, Yeti, Yowie, whatever, and we can relate it back to Giant Pithecia because that's the easy out, and we can build that narrative as the government. We can build that narrative, but let's turn around and look backwards and look at the Nephilim and look at the giants. And are the Sasquatches of the North America and the Yowies and the Yetis part of that? And they've somehow lived throughout the centuries in their small clans, and they were able to still produce in smaller groups throughout the world
and still live and thrive, but on a much smaller scale. You know, these are things that now even scholars are starting to question. They're starting to ask these questions. Like, wait a minute, we know giant Pithecia. We know what it is. We understand what it is. But we're starting to uncover things now that we believe to be mythical, myths, lore, but we're starting to uncover things that show that these were real. These giants did exist. They were real. So are the Bigfoots of the world part of them? And that's where even scholars, like I said, even scholars are starting to conversate about this. What if? What if? And if that is the case, why is it being hidden from us? Why is our past as humans, as beings on this planet, why is our past being hidden from us? What don't they want us to know? Whether it's biblical or something else, why do they not want us to know? It's mind-blowing.
That I would say that we could go all kinds of political, and we could go down a venue where it's like, okay, if humans have something faith-based, spiritual-based, where if you believe in the Christian version of God, right? You are not necessarily dependent on anything worldly or anything that the government can provide for you. The more you take away that, the more you destroy the nuclear family, the more it makes you open to needing or wanting, accepting governmental help, which leads to governmental dependency. And I mean, again, we could go real political, Saul Alinsky's, rules for radicals and all that kind of stuff. But a very simple explanation, though, is, if the government acknowledges it, the government being in charge of everybody, like in this country, they have to accept some kind of responsibility. So if you talk about like boogers, you often hear people say that the reason the government denies their existence is because think of what it would mean for, government parks and state controlled parks and lands and all that kind of stuff. Think of what it would mean for the timber companies and all that kind of stuff. And I think there is some merit to that. But I think also, I mean, just like we don't know 100%, we haven't seen, we kind of know, but we haven't seen the evidence on the JFK assassination. And it's there. And that most of the people nowadays are conscious of probably what went into that. Why do they continue to hide that kind of stuff? I think it's the same MO for the whole thing. I think it's a control aspect. Once they put that out there, it's very powerful having a secret. If you have a secret, if you know something that other people don't know, in some way, shape, or form, it makes the other people want to know it and to kind of covet, the information that you know and everything. And it gives you a little bit of sway and control over those people. People are kissing your ass trying to, get to the real deal thing. But I'm simply saying I think it's a control aspect to keep everybody. I don't think it's to keep everybody from panicking. I think it's to keep everybody guessing at how the world really works. I don't think there's any doubt that most people conclude that the government has secrets that they don't tell us and everything. And we all have our suspicions. But until you have 100% proof, you can't be like, aha, now I know what's going on. And I mean, can you imagine if something 1000% proved the legitimacy of the Bible? Can you imagine what a difference it would be in the world nowadays? And I mean,
you just hit the nail on the head. I think it proves God. That's why they don't want it out there.
I think so too. Just my thoughts on it.
There's so much that we could. There's just so much, but the end question, the end question is why not give the human race
That's right.
the answers of who we are. Yes, we can, once again, we can go from the Bible. We can. I'm just stating that there's other things that are being found now that don't go against the Bible, but you're able to question certain things that are in the Bible, in Genesis, in the book of Enoch. There's certain things that are being found now that we're starting to open these books back up and look at these different chapters and Psalms and all kinds of stuff and going, wait a minute, this is touched on here, but then it goes away. And then if I open up the book of Enoch and it's highly talked about here, but then if I go over here, there's a different wording or a different description of what I'm holding in my hand. There's so much now that we're trying to figure out, but my where I keep coming back to is why are we not getting answers when asking questions and asking the proper question. We are asking the proper questions. And we're being held with resistance. And it's about the human race. It's about us. Yes, it's about Bigfoot. And yes, it's about Gilgamesh. It's about the giants. It's about the Redbeards and the Blackbeards that were documented somewhat here in the States, and where the Redbeards were giants. The Blackbeards were giants. The Redbeards came from the south, wiped out the Blackbeards. The Blackbeards scattered throughout the northern part of the U.S. and into Canada. And then you have the Redbeards. And then the natives get tired of being slaves to the Redbeards, and they uprise and they kill the Redbeards. They don't kill them all. They don't wipe. Yeah, and then the Redbeards scattered throughout. Now this is where native documentation starts of all. I'm sure there's earlier parts of documentation that we haven't found or we're not privy to or whatever, but that's kind of where we step in as having documentation of now natives doing trades with what we call Sasquatch, the Redbeards. And then there's through history of natives trading with these. And then here comes white man across the sea. And everything that we carried with us, armory that we carried, disease that we carried, everything that we brought, we're nasty sons of bitches, and we came and I believe that's what helped kill off a lot of the population of Bigfoot is what we brought to the States. But all of this is very hit and miss. It's very low. The documentation is hardly there of any of this. And this is now the era, though, back then of these trades with the natives in the Sasquatch. This is the era, though, where documentation was starting and everything was documented at this point. Reoccurring documentation. It wasn't like we were still writing on cave walls and hit and miss here and there. No, even natives were starting to write down these things and document these things.
It wasn't just King James.
Yeah, exactly. So, once again, where are we from? Whoa, I just lost everybody. There we go. Damn, they found us. My screen just went black. I gotta go. Shut her down.
Every time you go to make a phone call, you're gonna hear a click every time you go to make a phone call now.
Right.
Well,
Eric out.
Well, here's one thing too we need to think about. We are Westerners, so we think in a Western way.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible was written by Eastern people.
Mm-hmm.
We want to put everything in a Western perspective. That's U.S., Canada, different. And there goes my screen going blank. Yeah, something's going on. But, and that's why it's hard for us as Americans to really realize how everything is on the Eastern Hemisphere. You know, their customs, how they wrote, how they thought. We can't think that way because we're in the U.S. and we've been programmed a whole different way, if y'all get what I'm trying to say. Right. So when you take the Bible, the Bible is relevant for us today. There's no doubt about it. It's the history of mankind, and it gives broad overviews. And then like the book of Enoch you talking about, the first book of Enoch is the one you really should be paying attention to. There's 3 books of Enoch. The first one we know was written before Christ. So that's the one, and that's the one that Christ refers to, that Jude refers to, and several other. I think there's another disciple that referred to it, if I remember correctly. But and I hope I'm not misquoting that, because that's one thing I do not want to do on this is misquote anything. But it's about deceiving. It's about a way. And I'll just go ahead and say it. Satan wants to deceive. That's what he is. He's a liar. He's a deceiver. He's a murderer. I mean, everywhere you turn around, that's what he's about. And if you go back, I think that's what a lot is happening. We're being deceived by a lot of different things for a purpose. And that purpose will come forward one day. We all may see it and we may not. But going back, you got to really think about everything in an Eastern perspective. And that's just hard for us to do in the U.S. We think everything revolves around us. But it really don't. It doesn't revolve around us. You've got to really get in that Middle Eastern history, Asian history, because that's where everything's at. That's where the cradle's at. That's where the central theme was. I mean, the United States is not in the Bible. If you really go and think about it, the Western Hemisphere is not in the Bible anywhere. I mean, there's scholars that have dug for it. It's really not there. You know why? I don't know. But we know there was a flood. I mean, all archaeologists, even secular archaeologists, tell you there was a flood on this earth at one time.
They found the ark.
We know that, you know. And we know that after the flood, giants are still mentioned in the Bible with Joshua when he sent spies into the land of Canaan. I believe Canaan. I might have misquoted that, and that's why I have to be careful. And the spies came back and said, "Hey, we can't fight that bunch. That bunch, they're giants everywhere, you know." So there's David and Goliath. Goliath was a Canaanite. They know that Canaanites had hybrid blood in them. I mean, if you really go back and retrace it, he keeps talking about the Canaanites were probably hybrid blood, bloodline. So, and that's what makes it hard for us is when we read, and of course, King James ain't no telling what was took out of it and what was.
Right.
Well, people use the Bible to control people. So
that's exactly what I was getting ready to highlight there. Do you understand that? Do you know that the Vatican has a library that is pretty much a fort? It's got a better security system than Fort Knox. Okay, what are they keeping in there? If it's supposed to be a library and a museum, an archival collection of stuff, what are they keeping in there? But again, it's the Vatican. It's not a government. Why would the Vatican keep specific things hidden under lock and key to that degree? Well, let me think about it. The top religious institution for the past several centuries wants to prevent you from seeing some stuff? Maybe. Just thought.
Y'all excuse me just a minute. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
No, Mark. Stay here. No leaving.
He's got poop.
I got to pee.
Go take a break.
But it all comes back, I mean, for me, I look at Sasquatch, I look at this realm that we're in, And throughout time of me being in here and where I was and where I am now with everything and everything that's kind of, well, the stuff that's been unlocked anyways, has changed my thought process and where, and I went from what are they to where did they come from? Not now. I'm not fixated on, I got to find what they are. I have to find where they came from. More than anything now, I'm fixated on where did they come from. And I go into, once again, the thing that really sparked all of this for me was last year when it walked up on me and I friggin' lit it up like daylight and there was nothing in front of me. Absolutely nothing in front of me. And that's when I turned, and that's when I really started going down this and really trying to figure things out as much as I possibly could. But it's opened up so much more for me now. It's just sitting here all of this that I'm talking about with you guys and what we are discussing is what has opened up since last year and that taking place for me.
Whenever you have been recently talking about you're kind of moving from one field, one phase to another,
mm-hmm.
Is this what you're talking about? You're looking more into the what the hell is it and why is it?
Yeah, but it's but it's sending me down. It's sending me to. And now I honestly believe that we're all even Bigfoot, we're all one and the same. And now it's sending me down that, trying to figure out what we are, the Bigfoots of the world, the humans of the world, what we are. I believe that we're all in this together, and that's where it's pushing me. The doors that I've opened up and went through, and the more I read and the more documentation I try to find when it comes to Bigfoot and energy and what they can do, and then look at us and who we are and the things that we have witnessed, personal things that people witness throughout the world, and strange anomalies that we have either done ourselves or have witnessed, things of past history, lore, giants, everything. It's got me spread. It has me spread. But I believe at the end of it, somehow, some way, we're all. I'm looking for that. I honestly believe I'm looking for one answer. One answer for all of it.
You're trying to get to the base of the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing. Root. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Mark, do you think? I mean, being that like both y'all, I'm looking to y'all for a little insight compared to me. I've only been doing this for a handful of years compared to y'all. How many people in the Bigfoot world has come, not full circle, but to the conclusion that, again, a lot of this stuff is connected. There's some underlying principle, force. Maybe it's some kind of underlying illusion of the way that we view the world. Maybe we've been taught to view the world a certain way, kind of indoctrinated, and the world really doesn't work that way. And whenever we get out looking for Bigfoot, we start to see different aspects, and that could be said for a lot of things. People that do yoga and meditate long enough, maybe they start having a different what do you call that kind of psychic shift? I forget what you call it. But anyway, whenever you started, if you were just out in the woods hunting, you saw a booger, you were like, what the hell is that? You get into looking for boogers for years. Now we're looking at God, prophecy, UFOs, all kinds of stuff. How many people think that all of this stuff is actually connected and that boogers aren't, really what we thought they are. Maybe like what Eric's saying, if I'm understanding it right, that them and us and everything, maybe it's all a lot more linked to the divine or linked to something spiritual, metaphysical than what we originally started out thinking about it. I mean, I certainly have started leaning that way more. What do y'all think?
Like when I started off, of course, I thought flesh and blood, and then over time, when I don't really call myself a researcher, but I mean that's probably the best way to describe it. But over time, going, on going on outings, me and Keith doing our stuff, me and other people doing our stuff, and especially with Adam, when me and him were doing a lot together. And the audio was bringing forth a lot of things. And then these orbs keep popping up at different places. And I'm going like, what are these things? Why do they keep popping up? And no, I never did see an orb pop up in Bigfoot jump out of one, but I have noticed orbs would be around, then we start having Bigfoot activity. Or you'd have Bigfoot activity and orbs would show up. And I don't know how many times that happened up there at that lake on Creepy Mountain. But also I've seen orbs in other places. I've seen square ones, and I mean rectangular. They're not all round. They're all different colors, blue, yellow. Some of them greenish color, some of them real bright white. So, and I think what they are, I'm going to go out on a limb on this one, but there's some other people that said the same thing. I think they're like a drone. They're gathering information. They float around, they gather information, and then they're telling it something. Where at, I don't know, but they're telling something. And maybe that's why a little later the Bigfoot show up. Don't know. I mean, I know that's getting way out on a limb. That's getting down deep in a hole. So I think they're information gatherers. They gather information and send it somewhere. I don't know where, but they're sending it somewhere.
I'll tell you what, I know somebody that I would trust as much as any of y'all. And that person has told me stuff about seeing orbs and seeing Bigfoot related to orbs, and they are 100% convinced that orbs turn into Bigfoot or orbs are related to Bigfoot, connected to Bigfoot somehow. And I think if we're all being honest in the Bigfoot field, you may think you know a lot of stuff about Bigfoot. Maybe you had a hell of an experience with Bigfoot. But I don't think there's anybody out there. There are no experts. I don't think there's anybody out there that can put all the pieces together.
Right.
And we need to be open-minded, and we need to consider all this stuff. The more opinions that people put out there and the more theories that people put out there, the only thing it can do is help. I mean, it gets everybody expanding their consciousness and opening up their mind about it,
That's the only way things are figured out. That's the only way, but it has to be sound-minded, though. You can't. Yeah, I mean, let's be real. You got some people that bring out theories that are like, let's just, some people need shock treatment and other people don't.
Yes, there are whack-a-moles like Misty, and you should not listen to anything Misty has to say because she'll go off the fucking deep end. And then there are rational people.
What the
But. And I have stuck to this throughout all of this, that I am a facts guy. I am a facts guy. But what Kane and I do is we bring something to each other that we've been working on after witnessing it. We bring an opinion on what it is or a theory on what it is, and then we work on that theory. And we work on it, not in just one spot. We go to multiple places throughout around our state, and we work on it. So yes, opinions on certain things and theories. Yes, most facts are built on theories. Most definitely, you need that, and you need those conversations with people. It's the oh no, they do this. Oh no, they do that. Oh no, they do this. You don't know. Yeah. Shut up. Close your hole. Close your hole.
I'm getting so tired of
You know,
people that they do this and they do that.
I just read one recently, and I've said it on my video. You know that they don't like to be called Sasquatch.
Yeah, okay.
They don't like to be called Sasquatch. Get out of here! Shut up! I will throat stomp you hard. First of all, understand what the word Sasquatch is. Sasquatch is a word that we created because we're stupid hillbillies and we don't know how to pronounce the proper name of Sasquatch that was given. The name Sasquatch is actually a name of a native tribe. We could not, and still, well, we can pronounce it now. I can't because I'm a stupid hillbilly. But the name Sasquatch is a native tribe. Bottom line. And that native tribe was of giants.
Yeah.
And that's documented history. They were a native tribe of giants called what we call Sasquatch. But yet you got an idiot out there going, they don't like to be called Sasquatch. Oh, let's see then. Okay, so here comes a hillbilly with a big footprint and says, look, I found a Bigfoot. Hey, let's call him Bigfoot. They love that name, but they don't like Sasquatch.
They're never
That came from a native tribe of giants.
They're never going to show themselves.
Yeah,
down.
I mean, come on, people.
They hate that.
Some of the
Yeah,
tribes
I mean,
didn't
Jesus
have
God,
hate
people.
for
Let's.
them, but, you know,
During a Bigfoot encounter. Oh no, I have not, but I know people who have.
Kumbo has, yeah.
There's
That's
other
another
people
thing.
who
Why does the Bigfoot not like the name of Jesus?
Well, according to some people in this field, why would a specific blast, a specific tone, people, from a specific kind of shofar? It's not just run out and buy a shofar and blow the damn thing that calls Bigfoot, just so everybody knows. But why would a specific tone supposedly summon Bigfoot? I mean, makes you wonder. What?
Why would it?
Mhm.
Why? You know, they use that shofar to break down the walls of Jericho with vibration.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned a lot of times when Sasquatch seems to be when they're around, there's a vibration happening somewhere.
I agree.
You know. So.
Yeah, well, I've told you before, I think that's why you can't get good pictures and things of them. I think they vibrate at a totally different frequency than what we can pick up. And it could very well be because they're Nephilim, they're fallen angels, maybe they're a demon, maybe they're just not, as bad.
I've seen some really clear pictures. But then just like what you were just saying, I've personally been out there and seen the battery on fresh batteries in a recorder just go dead, or a camera or whatnot. At some point, people, I don't care what you think of me or my opinion, but at some point, if you do this enough, you're going to get to a point where you're like, there's some weird shit going on. I don't know how to explain it by normal physics. There's some weird shit that's involved in this field. And we're probably just barely scratching the surface. We don't live in the woods.
The bad part is we're probably dancing around the stuff that we're looking for. It's just we don't know it. I think we have there. If the community would come together, the ones that are actually trying to figure shit out would actually come together and talk. We could put so much together and get down to the root of certain things. I think that I have enough information about something, you have enough information about another thing, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And if we were all able to come together, throw all of our cards on the table, and start putting this together, we could come out with something really amazing. And we're not doing it.
If we do anything on this show, I'm going to say it again like I've already said it 100 times. If we can get people from both sides, from both camps, whatever camp you're in, I don't fucking care. If we could get people to start talking to each other and treat each other with respect and be open-minded, to what the other team is saying. If we could, anybody in this field, as soon as you close your mind, in my opinion, as soon as you go, nope, that's not how it's going to work, as soon as you start thinking, I don't know about that, stop and listen. There is a difference between listening and hearing. And if we can listen to the other people, maybe eventually at some point, we will get somewhere. We have more access to information, technology, newer kinds of technology, obviously, than we ever had in the past. And we've already found a lot of this stuff out in the past. If people start working together, we can beat this thing, or we can at least accomplish enough that whoever takes over this field 20, 30, 40 years from now will have another, body of information to build on and everything. But it's only going to happen if we start being respectful and open-minded. Now, having said that, some of that stuff on Facebook and YouTube is bullshit, and you need to be able to be like, hey, that's bullshit. And some of these Facebook pages that are like, oh, if you say the word pareidolia now, you're getting kicked off. Screw you. But anyway, we need to be open-minded to a lot of this stuff. Seriously.
Yeah. We live in a world.
I think it'd be stripped from us. I honestly believe if somebody was to step up after, say all of this happened, and so many researchers came together, we built this portfolio of all this information, we went to present it to the world, here it is, undisputable, it would be taken from us.
It probably would, but just like what you were saying earlier about the biblical stuff or the mythical stuff that is being revealed, we have gotten to a point, information-wise, we have gotten to a point where the governments in any country are very small compared to the amount of people that are citizens of said country, right? Mm-hmm. We can get the word out. We can get the information out. It's an uphill task, and you get blocked and moderated and sanctioned and all that kind of stuff. But once you start making waves, you're probably going to get censored or pushed or whatnot. Eric, the stuff that you and Kane know, if you just release that slide on the internet right now, it'd probably be shut down. I mean, in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it would. It would.
But eventually, people are going to find a way to get that stuff out there, and eventually you cannot stop the group mind consciousness of all the people in the world who are actually seeking the information. It shouldn't be a deterrent, is my point. It should be a driving ambition to keep going further and further and being like, screw you, we figured this out and we figured that out. The more we do that, the more they're going to have to come forward, just like they are about the UFOs. They're going to have to come forward, and they're going to have to start subtly releasing this stuff out to kind of, supplant this stuff in your mind and just slow roll you into, oh, yeah, by the way, that's real. And we've known about it for 100 years,
Mm-hmm.
What was you going to say, Mark? You just got to cut Spencer off.
I'm surprised she didn't mute me. She just hits the mute
I started to, but you making a good point, so.
All this is, you have to be Eric's correct. You have to be very careful.
What did I tell you about that?
Well, you have to be very careful. But we just live in a world we don't really understand. We think we understand it. We don't know really nothing about it.
Right.
It's just, the big broad picture. And I go back to something he was mentioning about Gilgamesh. And then you had Nimrod. Nimrod was the one that was. A lot of people think Nimrod and Gilgamesh may have been the same person. We don't know that, but we think they may have been, because we know that the Tower of Babel was probably in Iraq where they was trying to build it. It wasn't over where present day Israel was at the time. We think that was probably in Iraq, or the scholars think it was in Iraq. Let me put it that way. But And also, I'm going to say this on the Tower of Babel. A lot of people don't think it was really a tower to reach heaven. They think it may have been an energy center or a way to communicate with, I hate to say this, other dimensions. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Just like our government is doing with a certain thing in Oak Ridge. Also, that Sweden and Switzerland, there we go, excuse me, I was going to say Sweden, are doing, and we don't know what them things are causing. I mean, they're saying we're just playing with antimatter or God's matter, whatever you want to call it. But there goes my screen playing again. But there's twice it's done it in the last minute. I don't know why it's doing that, but it may be because the storm's coming up too. I always try to think logical about it, but
all of our cars are in good order, and none of us are suicidal. Just so everybody knows.
Yeah.
Going back like what Eric was saying,
not by choice.
going back like what Eric was saying about the cave out in the Grand Canyon. There's no telling what kind of technology may have been. We know that before the flood, there was some technology. We know they had batteries. They were fooling with batteries. They were fooling with other things. And even what's crazy is about you have, and of course we have to be real careful with AI now, because AI is probably going to throw us a lot of curves down the road. And what I mean by that is AI can, yeah. So I ain't going to get off in that rabbit hole right now, but that AI can play with a lot of things. But when, like Eric was talking about, when the government went to Gilgamesh's tomb, there's no telling what come out of that tomb that was technology. I imagine the Vatican, we was talking about the library that the Vatican has. There's no telling what's in that Vatican. And you don't think the U.S. government and the Vatican don't work together? If you really want to get down who runs this world right now, I'm going to say this out on a limb, is the Vatican.
Yeah.
They're one of the richest. They might as well say they're a government in a certain way.
But you can't think about it from today's mindset. You have to think about it from the original formation of the Catholic Church and the Vatican, and how much sway they had over the average person in a lot of countries around the world at that point. I mean, they were a pseudo government in those countries. And the Vatican has immense power, always has.
Oh yeah, they have an army. We just, I mean, you just don't see it.
They have a literal army.
And there's no telling how much influence they still have on all the nations on the earth right now. Most of the nations, how much influence they still have, and what they really control. I mean, why would the Vatican buy a telescope in New Mexico and study the stars?
Yeah.
I mean, why would they? I mean, did I lose y'all a minute?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Well, mentally maybe, but
it's hard to put this together in one.
It is.
It's hard to make sense of it.
Hold on. Listen, y'all. We could go at this for hours. This is literally, when we talk about Bigfoot and we can go for hours, this is something where it's like you start out at 8 o'clock in the morning around a campfire drinking coffee, and somebody makes a comment. And literally, if you've ever been to camp with any of us, we'll talk about shit like this all day long and then come back to it later and everything. Having said that, we'll schedule a part 2 on this and everything. We will. We are getting way out there. The Vatican is probably the one freaking trying to interrupt the damn YouTube video right now as it is. They're like those little assholes in America.
Yeah.
They're getting on us right.
The Pope is sitting there in front of multi-screens just hitting buttons like mute, scramble, delete, squirrel.
Tomorrow morning, Eric's not going to have a broadcast because his cell phone will have died in the middle of the night.
That's why you got to play dumb up here.
We are. We're just dumb rednecks that do a Bigfoot show. Don't pay any attention to us.
But the bottom line of all of this and what we've talked about, we have our realm, we have Sasquatch, whatever you want to call it, is what we have. We have giants that have been documented, and there's documentation of the Redbeards, the Blackbeards. We now have somewhat of documentation of a tomb believed to be the one of Gilgamesh. And we do have what is to believe to be Gilgamesh's tomb. That has turned from lore to what is slowly turning to fact. We have a giant that was killed during the war from a group of soldiers. We have all of this. Now what we're trying to do is play all of it in together and try to line it all up as to, is it all one? Are we all one? So
it really
that is
a puzzle where you're trying to see if the pieces fit together.
Yeah. So ultimately, I mean, I think that's what this show is about, and just really just trying to talk about what we do know, the little information that we do have, the little information that or knowledge that we have, each one of us of the Bible,
yes, right,
of the Book of Enoch, of Genesis, of all of that, and just talking about it and seeing if there's any correlation to all of it. I believe that there is. I really do. I believe that there's correlation within all of it.
What? Stop! You can't just make random comments like that because Misty's the only girl on the show and she's got pigtails and glasses. She has a pretty good grasp on things. Have you ever talked to Misty?
What? Hey, I'm missing something. I'm trying to get the link.
You are. I already closed it to you. You ain't gonna see that shit.
I think most of us are all kind of on the same direction. Some of us are going off on different little roads, but we're all on the main road together.
Yeah.
And it's right. We've got to come together sometime or another and start really, talking about this stuff.
Yeah. But this is where we're at now.
Yeah.
This is where we are, in this realm. It's not Bigfoot and this and that and that. It's all it's all coming to center. And this is where we are. Well, with even our research.
At least that's our focus, is trying to bring this into an area where we can understand. But if you're not doing that, I mean, if you're focused on one thing at a time, I don't see anything wrong. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that either.
Not at all.
Some people are trying to see on the other side of the hill, trying to see the bigger picture and everything. And I mean, there's got to be something that explains all the weird stuff in the Bigfoot world. I mean, I don't have an answer to it, but eventually we'll just keep chipping at it until we find some. That's right, Ray. It is.
Every bit of it's connected.
As long as we all
Leanne, you are so banned. You're so banned. Just get off the channel. Go, Leanne.
Hey, I got a guest coming on. Watch for him. I'll be right back.
What? Oh, that. Fine. What?
Wow.
Sherry?
Look at her.
What do you have to add to this conversation, Sherry? Can you hear us?
Hello.
Hey,
hello.
I had 3 things open. Can y'all hear me?
There you go. That's good. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I was just observing.
Oh, Misty brought you on to just observe?
I know. I guess. I don't know. We were just, we this is where I started with this whole thing anyway. That was why I got into it. And she just thought I might have, but y'all have done an excellent job without me.
Well, I thought you might want to throw your 2 cents in right quick.
What's your opinion on the whole thing, Sherry? Do you think You know, is stuff being revealed for a reason? Do you think it's Nephilim? Do you think it's aliens? Do you think Bigfoot is tied into biblical, spiritual stuff? What's your overall thing?
That's been my whole thing to start with. I agree with everything everybody said. Now the alien stuff gets really weird. To me, it gets more weird than any of it. But everybody was making comments in there, and everybody else is pretty up on this too. When you get on the alien side of it, God, I think that is the fallen angels. And they can't come to Earth yet, and they're starting to, they're getting closer. But I think Sasquatch is. It's hard to say this in a few minutes. I think Sasquatch is the Nephilim, not Nephilim, but the offbreed of the Nephilim, and I don't like to talk about this because it scares the kids. All of this is going to come to pass in the end times. I think most of us that are, Christians believe that. And I mentioned it one time to Missy's daughter, and it just tore her all to pieces. And but it's going to come, and it's all going to. That's when we're going to have the answers, okay? But it's all going to fall into place. Everything is joined around Christ. Everything.
Yes, he was the second Adam.
Yes, Mark. And I'm not. Trust me, I'm not the best example of my faith, but I'm a believer. Okay, does that make sense? We're human.
Yeah.
We all
None of us are.
Right, but it's my faith, and that's where it all comes down to. And you just have to make your choice, and that's what it comes down to. Are you going with Satan, or are you going with Jesus?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe that there's a lot in the Bible that you just have to be able to decipher. First and foremost, you have to be able to decipher what is written in the Bible. I think that there is a lot of things that are in the Bible that do coincide with what we are finding today when it comes to this realm and Bigfoot. And then you get into the Nephilim, you get into the fallen angels, and could they very easily could have been misidentified and were aliens, are aliens, very easily could have been, or were they angels? Were they angels? Bottom line, it's one or the other. You choose the latter or what? But I think at the end of the day, I think the Bible. At the end of the day, I think the Bible still holds all of the answers that we're looking for. It's just we're not ready. We don't have the capability to decipher everything in it the way that it should.
Yeah. We're not yet. Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe exactly. Maybe we're not supposed to figure it out. Maybe we're not supposed to know.
Exactly.
And another thing too. I'm sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
In Daniel, it does say that in time things will be revealed to us in time. Yeah. And we have to work. I don't want to start preaching now, but because I ain't no preacher. I ain't no preacher. I ain't been called to do that, so I don't want to get in the middle of that.
But maybe you were called to do it on a Bigfoot show. Go ahead.
But anyway, in God's time, He reveals things as we can grasp it, I think, or when it needs to be for us to know it, because there's going to come a time. It even says in Revelations, it'll get so bad that even the elect could be deceived. So you think about that a minute, what that's really saying. And I think there's going to be things that's coming about that our government's going to be part of, the world's going to be part of, and how you say this. I always try to watch my words. There's a big deceiving coming. And a lot of it's here now, but there's going to be even more, and it's going to deceive a lot of people. Even with this alien thing, I think right now the government's trying to do damage control and trying to stay ahead of it. But there's going to be some things come out about that that's going to flip our minds out. And I think that's going to be part of the deception. I think it's part of the deception. Bigfoot, I do think, is some type of descendant of some type of Nephilim. We know they wasn't just one type. I mean, Eric hit on that a while ago. We know there's probably 3 types. The red beard, the black beard, then another one that was a little smaller. And, and like I said, you got to go back and read the Bible from an Eastern side of things. You can't think in a Western side. If you do, you're not going to get nowhere. And because this was written for Eastern society, even though it's relevant to us to this day, it was written by Eastern people in Eastern times in a whole different time period. So, because
we weren't here. And I'll tell you another thing that I think too. It talks about like in times about the beast of the woods. Coming. I think these things are going to be what comes out. Humans can handle the animals out there. Guns, we got guns up to galore. But these things we won't be able to handle. Not just these, all of the cryptid stuff.
Luke 21:26, men's hearts will faint from fear and anxiety over what is coming upon the earth.
Yes.
I mean, it's going to be horrible.
And it's how you decipher that as each individual, as a separate individual. How do you decipher what is your opinion on what that means? What you just read.
Whether
everybody will have their own.
I mean, it's
for me, what you just read, I see things that I'm going to witness that will terrify me to death, literally to death, when I see all of lore coming out of the woodwork, and I see evil that we can only fathom, that we can't even fathom, come out of the woodwork. So much things that we have been digging upon and digging at and trying to get answers from. That's what we are finally going to visually see.
Could be biomedical weapons. It's all in how you interpret it.
Exactly. There's so many ways. And that brings me also. I also look at every religion, and I look at the Bible, and all. Every religion, is there a narrative? Does each religion have a narrative? And those narratives, when opening up the book, and you're sitting in church or whatever it is, or whatever God you pray to, and you're sitting in that holy building, and they open the book and they start reading, are they reading a narrative for you to be forced into your mind, and they're not telling you the in-between, the sentences in between what they are reading you? There's a narrative there that they want you to follow, and that's it. And everything else is being stricken from you. Does each religion hold a narrative for the human race to follow? I
don't think the big thing is does every religion hold a narrative. I think the big thing is, anytime you question something about a religion or a government, how much are you pushed back on? How much are you silenced? If they're trying to silence you, whether it's a religion or a government, why are they trying to silence you? I mean, why can't you ask open questions? But anyway,
Ridge Runner had a good point there too. That's kind of been in my thoughts a lot. We know that some of these things are not mean. I mean, we had an episode here like a couple winters ago where a little kid got lost. I think he was like 4 years old, and he said bear took, and it was cold. It was down in the teens, and he survived. And he said a bear took care of him. Okay?
The bear took care of him.
Okay. Yeah. I think some of these things are not evil. I think some of them are more human, and they have a choice. Now, Scott Carpenter discussed this, and I agree with him. He thinks that some of these, they're going to be able to make the choice too. Do they go with God or do they go with Satan? Okay? And there's going to be some on our side. There's going to be some on his side. And I agree with that. And Ridge Runner just brought that up. Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Well, you go back and look at Jacob. He made he made a treaty with the Nephilim. If you really get down to it, if you really look and see who he was talking to, when Rachel passed away, make sure I said Rachel, or no, excuse me, Rebecca. Whew, I'm getting my mind messed up. Yeah, when she,
That's right, Diane.
I'm getting confused. That's why I hate to talk about it sometimes.
You're
Because
okay.
I want to make sure I quote the right person and the right thing. But he went and bought property.
The government's already trying to shut your computer down. They ain't going to end this whole thing because you said the wrong name.
Well, I do that out of a stance because I don't want to mislead nobody. What I'm trying to get at. He went and bought land to bury her. Correct? I know y'all probably read that part.
Yes. Yep.
A lot of biblical scholars think that he was actually doing a treaty with Nephilim, or a half Nephilim, put it that way. So, yes, I think some of them are not mean. I mean, the ones on Creepy Mountain, I've only had that one time that one got right behind me, his 20, 30 foot behind me, followed me out to the truck, when I was coon hunting. But if he wanted me, he could have had me. I mean, he could have rushed over me and them 2 coon dogs, but he didn't, I mean, and I stopped and faced him twice, looked back at him and could see his silhouette. If he wanted me, why didn't he get me? So I'm just wondering if he was just trying to intimidate me, run me out from in there, what he was actually trying to do. And did I feel fear at the time? Oh, heck yeah. I mean, I was going like, what is this thing up to? Because I never had one approach me like that. The rest of them always stay back and do their little throwing rocks, little sticks, making their little racket. This one actually, come in there on me. I could hear him back there, knew what it was because I could tell what the footsteps was. He had his chance to get me, but he didn't. So maybe
because it knew it was going to get his damn tail tore off if he hooked up with you, Mark.
Oh.
Hey, David Devine. Hey, it's good to see him.
Hey, David.
He's a big fan of him in Deep South.
Yep. An awesome show last night. Hey, hold on 1 second. Dee Dee? Hey, Dee Dee. Dee Dee. I'd like to hear your encounter, and apparently Mike Bluler would too. But anyway, hold on, since I'm wrapping it up, let me put this down here I'm so unorganized. I don't know how to do this stuff, but that's my email. Dee Dee would love to hear from you or about the encounter, and anybody else, just since we're getting there. If anybody else, if you have anything, Sasquatch, if you want to talk about stuff like this, whatever. I mean, I'm not the most knowledgeable on it, but you can talk to Mark or Eric or Sherry or Misty or, whatever, the 100 other people that I know, and I'll put you in touch with them. But there's the email, and if anybody has interesting stuff that they want to talk about or whatnot, please hit me up on that. And by the way, hold on 1 sec, sorry. I know I'm just like cutting off the show, but that's because I tried to do it 20 minutes ago, and then Sherry got in here and just started talking about all kinds of other crazy stuff.
I tried to email her earlier, but I couldn't find her email, so I had to just text her, and I was like, what is your email?
I love Sherry. Sherry can come on any show. Sherry may pop in on any show and just add
this for
her.
about 15 years on this subject. That's why I figured she'd want to.
And let me tell you, I'm not going to say this person's name, but no, because they didn't give me permission to say it. But it's an email. And where's the original one? Just wanted to say hello. Don't know if you can see who is watching, liking the YouTube shows. I found you through Bama. I've been watching all of Linda Eastburn's videos and watched both of Bama's and thoroughly enjoyed them. He was very entertaining. I found only one or two of Linda's. Well, let me not read the direct thing. But anyway, because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. Shut up, Eric. But
Sissy.
anyway, man, some of the emails we get are like, they are so, really, in all honesty, they're touching and everything. You realize that Misty and I are just idiots that do a YouTube channel. Like, we don't even have an organized plan. This morning, Eric's like, yeah, we know.
Yeah.
Just this morning, we were like, what are we going to call it? I was like, I don't know. But
Just
anyway,
two dumbasses that come together and actually know some smart people.
That's right. We at least try to procure very good guests and everything. And that's what we've done here. Look, Eric, Mark, Sherry, all of them are smarter than Misty and I on all this stuff. We're just running a dang show where we try to invite people that have, you know, like smart conversation and everything.
Just think about that part, guys. How did we all come together? Why did we all
Well,
come together? You know?
And Greg House is a good one to talk with on that, because it's just really weird. But again, that's part 4 or 5 or whatever of what this is, because we could just go anywhere with this. We could go off in so many directions on this. Thank you, David.
Kumbo knows a lot about this subject too, so you need to hit Kumbo.
I know he does. Somebody, Squirrel, ban Leanne. Ban Leanne. Ban her.
Wait, hold on.
Great show, Misty. Billy, damn it. Don't. Billy.
Billy's Team Misty all the way. He's my buddy. I was worried about him the other day.
Hey, Team Spencer is up to like 10 or 11 now.
Oh, no, come on now. I don't believe it for a second. Wait, Yuns?
Oh, man.
Everybody on here is Team Misty. Anyway.
That's not true. Some of them
No, hey.
I just don't know you yet.
This will be the second round table. So the first round table is like just Bigfoot in general, like what are they and everything like that. And this goes into it, but we're getting on the see, like 11 members now. Thank you, David. Do you really mean that? Do you really mean that?
Oh, wait.
Anyway, damn it. See, I knew it. Freaking traitor, David. Shut up, Mike. That's the Mike. I'm the one that reached out to you and talked. Well, actually, to be technical, it was Greg that was like, hey, let's talk to that guy behind. But as soon as I saw what you wrote, then I was there. Come on, Mike.
A bunch of dumbasses with some smart friends.
That's all this is. We're dumbasses with smart friends. Thank you.
We're all going to have to stand together at that end. We're going to build a fort. So we're going to use each other.
We will do another part of this where we go into the metaphysical thing. Eventually, we're going to do a Dogman thing, but I just got to get other people to host that shit. I'll just listen because I don't want to have to talk in that because
What's the difference, Spencer?
Shut up, Sherry.
They're both interbred beings.
No,
one just looks like a dog, one looks like an ape.
What? Have you seen the pictures that they got? Have you seen the pictures of that crap?
Yeah, it's scary.
No, you haven't. I want nothing to do with that.
I'm just tougher than you. I can't help it. I'm sorry. I love you.
Sherry.
I love you, Spencer.
Sherry, I'm the one that clicked the thing to let you on, damn it. Hey, y'all, we'll do another show on this. To everybody in chat, seriously, thank you very much for being here. You know all the people that we support. This time, House of Enoch, because I keep forgetting about Kane. Or something else I was gonna say. I forget what, but anyway.
Eric's channel.
Eric's got what do you call that thing? Appalachian something. Eric.
Bigfoot Explorer.
What's your channel?
Appalachia Bigfoot Explorer.
There you go. See? Listen, Spencer.
Always. Shut up. Mark's Cedar Creek Bottom Farmstead Live. twins. Love you too, Spencer. No, you don't, Billy. No, you're just painting my ass. You're Ray Doll, Spencer. Man up, you pansy. Ray.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Ray. Team Eric. Thank you, Ray.
Team Eric. Ray probably is Team Eric. She's a lot like you. Have you seen her post? Ray. I'm Team Kumbo. Oh, calm it down, Mike. Calm it down. Team Kumbo.
Ooh,
anyway,
that's a long
y'all. To everybody, seriously, we'll do another part of this show and everything. Everybody that we support and all that kind of stuff, go out and check them out. Thank you very much, Cashew. Love Cashew. Look, it's like that. That's Eric's channel. And check out House of Enoch and everything like that. But, yeah. So, like all these shows that I do with this intro, they're not going to get plastered anywhere. We're going to have to go back and correct that soon. But anyway, and I don't know, also, I don't know if we will have a show. Squirrel, is it next week? No, it's the week after that we're going to be gone, right?
I think so. But we're not leaving Sunday. So
no. So it's not next week.
We should do one from Greg's. I told him we should do a comedy hour with
Greg said that we should also, and we're gonna have to do it at a different time though.
Yeah.
Not on Sunday at 2, but maybe like there might be a just random live show on Tuesday night or Wednesday night, the second week of July, because we will be at Greg's Man Cave in Alabama, and we might just throw something up there. Thank you. Damn.
So,
Cashew's on.
Jump out here real quick. So, 2 weeks from yesterday, Kane and I will be on my show talking about what we've been doing the last couple months and where we're heading with some things. And then we'll also kind of dive in just a little more on the documentary.
Excellent.
So,
please send me a text because I can't get your alerts.
What?
yeah.
I can't get anything from Eric. I always watched him every morning. Now somebody cut me off because I don't get any of his alerts at all.
And Eric has lives on Facebook most mornings. And I mean, just if you're in this field, if you know who Eric Tipton is and you're in this field, hit him up with a friend request and watch his dang show in the morning, because there's always only like, a handful of us on there and everything. And then people go back and watch it later, but you should be in there live and like talking to him and asking him questions and everything. He does a really good job. He covers all kinds of topics, I'm telling you. And Mark Green goes live at the drop of a dime, like he's all over the place. Sometimes it's Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays. What is it, Mark? What days do you go live, Mark?
Fridays is our lives. That's when it's technically supposed to be.
It used to be
videos
Wednesdays.
Come out on Wednesdays. Now, sometimes, I tell you, it's just been hectic with me and Rebecca lately. We're in the farming season. She's working. I've had my hands full lately. She has, so it's been tough. And but Wednesdays usually when we put out. We're supposed to put one out on Mondays too, but we just haven't done it because it's just been overwhelming.
It's a busy time of year if you farm and garden.
Oh my gosh.
I'll tell you, back in the day, Mark, I used to work for a grain handling company back in the day, and I would go around and I would service like a lot, especially in the northeastern part of Ohio, and I would service like the grain dryers during crop season, and I would roll into farms at 3:00 in the morning to service a grain, because them things don't shut down. Farmers don't shut down. And I would travel all over the place. There was nothing for me to roll into a farm at 2:30, 3:00 in the morning to work on a grain dryer. So yeah, you guys are busy right now.
Yeah, it's trying to do a regular job, farm, keep a house up. The typical things of life, and it just makes it tough.
Yeah,
to do the videos. And the other problem is also on a lot of my videos, nailing down people to a time to talk to them. And it's hard to do this
Mhm.
time of year because people's on vacation and kids are out of school, so everybody's going here and there and yonder, so it's hard to nail down everybody.
Oh, it's Mr. Jim coming in. Hey, did y'all know that Sherry is Misty's aunt? Did y'all know that in chat? I bet you did not. And Sherry looks like she ain't, but whatever, a couple years older than Misty. I don't know. I thought they were sisters for the longest time.
But I am more than 4 foot tall, Spencer.
Barely. 5'1". Hi, Jim. Hi, Mr.
You're
Jim.
serious when she stands next to Eric when we go.
Because Eric's like 6.5 feet and Sherry is like 4'2". It's kind of, but Sherry can run. She's like the road runner in Wile E. Coyote. Sherry just takes off everywhere.
Spencer just says that because he's 4'8". So
You're such an ass.
I got you a backpack, buddy.
Yeah.
It's not a
When you go
backpack.
to drags, I can carry you.
Baby Bajon. At least get it straight if you're going to talk about it. Baby Bajon.
That night at the camp out, when Sherry took off looking for Misty, I mean, she was like a bullet across that field.
I'm telling you, she
was like,
literally-
hey.
she leans forward. She leans forward and goes. And just takes off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Please check out all the channels and everything, and we'll see you next Sunday. And thanks for watching this. There was a lot of people in chat this time, so hey, thanks for checking out the show and check out everybody else.
Yeah. Thank you guys, and thank you, Eric, Mark, Sherry. I'm not thanking.
Thank y'all.
Whatever.
Thank you, Sherry.
Ryan
Thank
Paul,
you,
really.
Mark.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
all.
Eric. I got to be more polite. We got to do a professional show. Bye.
Yeah.
They
Shit.
won't watch if you do.
No,
Bye.
I'm a criminal, sent to swipe and steal. I'm a criminal, sent to swipe and steal.